And we're back with another episode of AC Milan Zone podcast. Another another sad one. This year it's just been absolutely brutal. A couple very good highs, too many lows. I'm joined as always by my brother in tears, the most optimistic member of AC Milan Zone podcast. Ozzy, welcome back.
It's thank you for that intro. No, it's going the opposite way now, Stefano. The optimism is gone, and we'll get into why.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit pre-show, and I think you're fed up. So let's get straight into it. We see the score uh, on the screen. It was supposed to be the game that started the cycle after the big win in Madrid. Things seemed to click. Maybe Fonseca found something. It was going to be an easy win against Cagliari. We were going to go and fly up, especially with a couple interesting games that happened in Serie A in the weekend with Napoli and Inter playing each other. We were going to be just, one game away from them, just a few points with a game in hand. Going into the break, high spirits is going to be great. Instead, we go down almost immediately. We climb back up only to be caught up again late in the game. And honestly, the last few minutes, Cagliari seemed like they were more on the front foot and more looking to win this game than we were. Game end C3 was supposed to be just an easy win where we see Camarda maybe start the cycle of our next big striker. And instead, we, as we often have done this year, overcomplicate ourselves. Before we get into the player grades, as always, who do you think is the most to blame for this specific loss?
I think we've been saying it throughout the whole season. It's a mix of that Emerson Royale signing, missing out on Buongiorno, which I think would have been a great signing for us, keeping Kalulu, and then Fonseca just not really wanting to change anything in the back line. Our defensive shape is still atrocious. I saw on Twitter there was a compilation of how many goals we've conceded in almost the exact same fashion, and they all seem to come from our right wing. And I don't mean it's Pulisic's fault, but it just seems so incredibly easy just to cross it in. And yes, I'm not saying that Emerson Royale should block absolutely everything, but our center backs are just sort of ball watching. Um, we're never first on second balls. We don't clear it. Theo Hernandez seems to have like a half-hearted rush out to the ball, and he always does the same thing where I'm trying not to get the microphone in the way, but just covering his head and not really committing to the block. Um, yeah, how many times have we conceded like that? So I think it's a mix of management from the get-go, from the transfer window all up to Fonseca not trying to change anything in the back four, or rather maybe even changing too much. And we'll get into the center back rotation, which is extremely odd. um yeah, it's a mix of all those factors, and it's starting to get really tiring.
Yeah, totally agreed. Obviously, when I mean, sound like a defeat. Obviously, is a draw, but when a game like this happens, when you give so many opportunities to a team that seemed unable to score in Cagliari, who really only has crosses, who has very limited weapons, was not found success, and you give him three goals, but also plenty of chances. They obviously had multiple goals offside. One specifically where we got really lucky because maybe that ball was going in the bottom corner if it wasn't tapped in. Um, and just other chances. Like I thought Cagliari played, overall, the 3-3 is fair to them. They didn't, it wasn't a big heist for them to get this point. There's obviously, up and down the roster on the bench, everyone to blame. I keep going back and forth how much blame I give Fonseca. I think there's a few things that are mistakes going into this game. It's clear that we have a strong squad, but the difference, for example, from when we won the Scudetto, I think we have a better squad than that in terms of the individuals and the players. I think we're a much
Yep.
less balanced team. That was a team that had a right wing, Salemakers. Salemakers is no special player, but is someone who can track back and get stuck in a couple duels. Is a squad that for most of the year had Kessi at the 10 position, paired with Tonali and Benacer in midfield. It's a squad that for a long time, played with Kalulu, a right back for a little bit before he was moved to center back because we had to. And we won that Scudetto by just not conceding goals towards the end. The big revelation in Madrid seemed pretty obvious to me. We put in Musa. We were a little bit more balanced. Now, of course, Musa in that game was, going back and being a wing back, and we had five at the back. Probably didn't need five at the back at Cagliari, but we nevertheless need someone who can track back and do the running. Again, we just need somebody who runs. And this is not even disrespect to Chukwueze, which I know is not a fan favorite right now in general because a lot of money was used on him and it's maybe not shown his worth. I like Chukwueze. I still think he's going to be a good player for us. This is not the way to utilize him. You either rest Pulisic and then put another midfielder there and say, yeah, we'll give a chance to Chukwueze. Or you use him as a firecracker off the bench, which I think is a great role for him, by the way. Someone who's so, one-on-one prone and likes to take defenders on. So I think that's the biggest mistake that Fonseca made. And if you allow me the floor, sorry, I know I'm speaking a lot, but I'll go into it. What's really annoyed me, actually, is Teo Hernandez. And I think we need to have a conversation about Teo Hernandez. You're
Yeah,
potentially the best left back in the world. We love you. When you fight, you're so good. Obviously, offensively, you're incredible. Defensively, you can do so well. No player is perfect. Making mistakes is totally fine. Getting beat from time to time is totally fine. But
yeah,
what I think we're really missing is leadership from the players and from the locker room and a captain. And when our captain is having these absolutely dreadful games, and this is not the first one that we've seen, I'm sure this is not the last one that we'll see. It's easy to get motivated when you're at the Bernabeu and you're playing Real Madrid in the Champions League. It's easy to get motivated when you're playing a derby. I want you to give 100% of your energy and your effort even against Cagliari, especially because we can give you the loud treatment of benching you because we have literally no one. He was dreadful from start to finish. Full mob because of, obviously being a stat-led ratings, give him a 5.9. For me, it's an easy 3. All the goals comes from his side. Obviously not all his fault, but just zero effort. And in a team that's so unbalanced, as I described before, we simply cannot afford to have a person like him. And what's gonna piss me off is that I can already see what's happening in January and June if this season continues to go the way it goes now. Is that he's gonna take the first exit sign out and get out to greener pastures, which it's fair to do if you try your best, you did your best for the club, you see a jump up to a bigger team in your career, go for it. Nobody was mad at Tonali. We were just sad to see him go. But to put on performances like this because you can be arsed to even run and then get out, that is already going to piss me off. And I think there's a broader conversation to have about Teo Hernandez. You can be however good you want, but if you don't run, I'll take Jimenez as the Primavera and whatever. We'll take Terracciano and we'll figure something out. Have you grown tired of him at all? Is there been anything? I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm the more pessimistic. I honestly don't know what the average Milan fan is. Probably still a supporter, but he's getting on my nerves.
no, he is getting on my nerves, and he is on paper, I think, one of the best left backs in the world, or if not the best left back in the world. You're right in saying that that drive or that motivation, and when he is at his best, he is absolutely incredible. But I think it's fair to say now that he's grown into that role. He's our captain. He should be showing that week in, week out. We we go to the Bernabeu. We absolutely destroy Real Madrid. Well, destroy. Yeah, yeah. I would say almost destroy Real Madrid. Play them off the pitch, both tactic wise and that drive, that spirit, the fight, and then he turns up against Cagliari, which I can somewhat understand is perhaps not the most motivating of games, but it's not that we're like 12 points clear at the top of the table. Then I could understand it even more. And we were discussing this is that the Inter team from last year, we saw every single player playing at their, at least trying to play at their best every single week in, week out. And on paper we do have better players than we had in the Scudettos winning season. I agree with you, but it's that hunger that is completely gone. I don't understand how him not being captain sort of motivates him to play better. And yeah, the sofa score rating of, what was it, 5.9? It doesn't do it justice of how poor of a performance he had. And yeah, we do have some motivation issues in the team, and it seemed to have paid off with benching Liao a bit, but I don't think it's he would have. I don't think he's playing better because he was benched
I
necessarily.
would
Do you know
agree.
what I
I
mean?
also don't think he was playing particularly bad
No,
before.
exactly.
I think we can see three with him, with him or without him. If our defensive problems are being fully or mostly blamed on Leao not tracking back, which he doesn't, and he should do more. Don't get me wrong, but then we're just grasping at straws, right? You don't concede three against Cagliari
Yeah,
because Leao wasn't tracking back. The last goal, we see how much Theo has a fault, but how Okafor is also clueless on
yeah,
closing up. Again, not that it's necessarily Okafor fault, but yeah. Yeah, to me, I think all this sort of up and down. I mean, a little bit obviously falls on Fonseca. It is a little bit the coach jobs to motivate, but it's also hard when you come as not a big name or massive name coach into a locker room like that, and there is a lot of strong personalities um, to motivate, and ultimately the players do go out. So if Teo Hernandez can be bothered to turn up, then it's on him. If Leao has poor attitude, then it's on him. And then if those two are your best players, and that it falls from that, then we see all sorts of players that are lost. I think Pavlovic is a great example. I think Pavlovic, I've seen a lot of people saying, "Oh, failed experiment, we wasted so much money." I think Pavlovic is a good to potentially great defender. You see him being very disciplined, very very good in tackles. I think he just loses his head. I mean, we see two or three times where he's just clueless and he will just like go up uh, with the ball, or all of a sudden, break the defensive line, the defensive rank, and go close up and start chasing when we don't have the ball, start chasing their striker all the way to the line. To me, that doesn't, obviously that's a decision that he makes, but to him maybe he's like, okay, I need to be aggressive here, I need to win the ball back. It just seems that the team is clueless and there's no captain that's uh, putting a
yeah,
line in shape, especially when the captain is part of that defense. I think is a perfect example of that, and yeah, it all trickles down from there. I think the only players that have been good are the ones that are stronger mentally. And are professional enough to turn up week in and week out. Fofana, which obviously very unlucky on the second goal, he's the one that sort of gave the mistakes away. But I mean, he's been incredible for us. He creates our second goal with our second goal with a beautiful pass to Leao. Reinders has been incredible. Another quiet guy that lives everything on the pitch. Same with Pulisic. Um, it's just a shame that yes, we just missing the big personalities, and especially I'm disappointed in Theo Hernandez, who's supposed to be our captain. Um, yeah, from the game, I'm curious to see. I think obviously Leao is sort of saved. I think brilliant performance from him. Two goals obviously speaks for himself. Two very nice goals, but also just seemed lively and did well. I saw some split opinions about Camarda. I kind of thought the game was gonna go like this. I mean, if Morata doesn't touch the ball, why should
um,
Camarda? And he spent
yeah,
a good time
and
not touching it, but I thought he did all
and
right when he
how
did, to be honest.
yeah, I don't understand how you can have a split opinion. The guy is 16 years old, and it's his first start for and just like you said, a role that we don't utilize like the striker as much as perhaps other teams do. And yeah, how many touches did he have in total? I don't know. Does Morata always have that many touches? No. The guy is 16. I'm not sure you can have a split decision and say he had a poor game. Like if uh, he did all right and was anything more than all
Yeah,
right
agreed.
expected. Yes, we are talking about perhaps. I'm not sure if we were talking about it on the pod, but you and I at least on WhatsApp we talked about how great it would have been if Kamada scored and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, that offside goal against Bruges, maybe that put people's or AC Milan Twitter fans into the idea that he would score. But I mean, how many goals has Morata scored? How many goals has Tammy Abraham scored this season? Not that many. So
Yeah,
why would Kamada all of a sudden
agreed.
score on
Agreed, fully
his
agreed.
debut
And I
or
thought he
assist?
fought well. He had a few chances, a nice header. I don't know. I thought he was there.
Yeah,
I
he
honestly
was
didn't
did all
think he
right.
was bad.
The guy is 16. The guy is 16.
Yeah, no, fully agreed. And obviously,
That's all.
yeah,
That's all we really have to say.
we can't really put our hopes of winning games or having a
No,
good season
no,
on him
no.
or not. Um, for the rest, we see yes, another frustration and maybe another big fault of Fonseca is the defensive rotation. Obviously, we're missing, which is hilarious to say. I think if you told me a year and a half or two ago that I would say this sentence, I would have said you're crazy. But we're missing Gabbia big time, who the only one who showed to be reliable and give us defensive stability. Uh, Here's to
Yeah.
hoping that he will be back for Juve. Um, but this carousel of changing center backs, I think it doesn't help. So the same problem that I was talking with Pavlovic, where he seems to be, from time to time disciplined and make the wrong decision. I think that also largely comes from always having a different pairing in defense, which also causes them to play on the left, on the right. Um, um,
Yeah, and the
Strange.
styles of the styles of the center backs that we do have, like Chow and Pavlovic, are perhaps more similar. You know, just big units, tall, are there to just purely defend. While I think Tomori, yes, I was hating on him earlier this season against Fiorentina. I don't think it's excusable. What he did there, just absolutely blanking on the ball. But just like you say, centre back pairings. I shouldn't say centre backs are the first names on the team sheet in every team. It depends on the quality of players, but you want that block because they rely on each other so much in communication. They understand body language, and if you keep rotating that, then it doesn't make sense. And yes, Gabbia would be one of the first people on the team sheet after, well, I would say Leao, but Pulisic, Rangers, Fofana. Obviously, with Gabriel's form before he got injured, he would be there. But after tomorrow's show against Real Madrid, why don't you just continue on that pairing with Chow?
Yeah, yeah. It seems yeah, it's
Yeah,
baffling. Also
and
because I
those
mean,
and
people have also split on Tomori, but I think if you take all of our center backs peak form, including Gabbia, I think Tomori is the best one. Maybe I'm wrong
yeah,
though,
in terms of ceilings and what we saw, and then it was a while ago, but the Scudetto winning season, and he has trailed off a bit.
for sure.
But and maybe that's why Pavlovic, he comes in and it takes time to adjust to a different league. He had a good start and then he was dropped, and maybe in his mind he's like, oh, maybe I'm not doing the right things, which I think he was doing. All of a sudden he's trying too much. He's trying different things. Maybe he's being told something that he doesn't believe in. And yeah, he didn't seem comfortable with Chow, and that and you have to have you have to have that dialogue, or that bond with your center midfielders just in front of you, especially when you play a double pivot like we do. And that wasn't there when Fofana and him kind of fumbled. I wouldn't say. I mean, I guess it's kind of both their faults, maybe more so Fofana, but again, Pavlovic, just like you mentioned, taking a few steps up there when it really wasn't needed, and that communication takes time to build. And I don't mean I mean, Fofana and Pavlovic are both new to Italy. You just see it off body language and playing with each other, week in week out, that bond you create with, especially in that midfield and centre back blocking. You read your players, you understand how they play, you understand that Fofana would go for it. You've practiced that on in training, and you play 90 minutes week in week out. That's a bond that you create then. And so I don't agree with all of a sudden Fonseca again rotating centre backs. How many times have we rotated centre backs? And
Yeah,
that wasn't due to injury or
yeah.
unavailability.
Honestly, countless. I think. I mean, this is my best guess. Obviously, I'm not in Fonseca's mind, but I think we started with the idea that Pavlovic and Tomori were going to be our center back. The idea was, hey, we get another big guy to pair with Tomori, is more agile. We finally have a left-footed center back. So Pavlovic got the left side, Tomori goes on the right. Then we got Emerson Royal. I mean, we don't need to beat this dead horse, and nobody still knows where we got him. Um,
Yeah,
um, and we played the first few games with, I think we started the season with Chukwueze, Pulisic, and Leao. with Fofana not still not in the squad, and then he first came in, obviously it was his first few games, he just got in because we took forever to buy him, and we conceded a lot, and we saw that, hey, maybe Tomori and Emerson don't work that well. Well, first of all, maybe that's an Emerson problem more than a Tomori problem, and it feels like since then, Fonseca just took that out and said, no, okay, this doesn't work, which means Tomori needs to play on the left, which means now it's a rotation of either Tomori or Pavlovic. And that's silly for a few reasons. Again, because our whole defense doesn't work well. Doesn't matter what happens if you don't have the players up front that allow it for some balance. We just need a little bit of balance, which leads me to a question for you. I saw someone today saying, did we need to get Tammy Abrahams and send away Salamakers? Now, obviously, Salamakers got injured. Very unlucky. But
Yeah.
looking
No,
back,
yeah.
again, not that Salamakers is the end all be all, but just if and according to me it is, if our biggest problem is balance, does that looking back
Yeah.
look like an even more atrocious decision?
Yeah, it does. It didn't make sense. He played a lot for us in the preseason,
Yeah,
and just like you say, you get what you
seemed to
know
be
what
one
you
of
get with
Fonseca's favorites.
Salamakers. Yeah, and I guess it is management. I don't know if Sailmakers wanted to leave. I doubt he put in the quality he did for us in the preseason, or that would have been made clear early on in the transfer window, or maybe we just didn't find the suitable buyer or loaner for him. But yeah, strange decisions from the get go. Considering, yes, we've had some injury worries, but I mean, we've got Jovic, we've got Tammy Abraham, and we've got Morata. And those, after getting Morata, you'd think, okay, we don't really need anyone,
Yeah,
another
I mean, we spent
striker like
seasons
Tammy.
with having just Giroud, a 36-year-old Giroud, and then just say, yeah, that's pretty
Yeah,
much
let's
it.
roll with it.
Now you have
Yeah,
Morata, you have Jovic there, who we renewed this summer, and
and
then
then
after that
didn't,
moved, yeah, gave him
and
the
I
number
can
nine,
understand
started at the
Jovic.
beginning of the season, literally our starter, first game of the season. You have Kamada there for safety, who you're gonna, want to try to get more minutes and try to get in, more included. You have also Okafor there. Is Okafor a main striker?
Yeah, true.
Probably not. Is he a winger? I don't think so. I don't think the man is a winger. I think he's a second striker. That's his position that's where he does best. Obviously, we don't have that. I think in case of emergency, you could play him up top and say, hey, look, a falso nueve or someone who helps link up a little bit more, a Zirkzee style striker. Much better than he does a left wing on a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1. Uh, and you keep Salamakers. You tell me that this team lined up as we're seeing here, with Pulisic on the right, with Pulisic in the middle and Salamakers on the right, helping Emerson Royal. You tell me that Emerson Royal and Tomori can't actually allow Cagliari to score less than 3 goals when they have a little bit of that coverage.
Yeah, no, you're
I'm
bang
just
on.
not convinced though. And yeah, and again, it's not even hate on Tammy Abrams. He did the stupid thing about the penalty that will forever bug me, I think, until he leaves us. But I honestly don't mind his approach to how he came to Milan. I don't think he's a superstar, but he's done well and he's tried hard, which is all you can ask. But yeah, the balance of how the squad is built. I mean, we're missing one, if not two midfielders. Obviously, you're a bit unlucky with Benacer going injured. Now, you should know better. Benacer is not exactly a injury-free legend.
No.
Um, but I mean, we're missing at best one starting caliber midfielder, probably two, to not talk about the line up front. Yeah, let's see. I thought honestly Musa could get some more minutes. He didn't. Against Juve, I would
Yeah,
fully expect him to be back, but we'll see.
and also that's also another thing. Like Fonseca doesn't seem to reward players who are playing well, which I find very bizarre. Everything from starting with benching Leao to having Musa play probably his best game in a Milan top. Not that
Yeah,
has played an awful lot for us the last season and 15 games, but surely rewarding players that play well Yes, of course, would he have played a different type of both position and role against a Cagliari that isn't doesn't have a Vinicius Junior, whereby you need at least two people on him, of course, but at least try to, I don't know, I shouldn't say tinker with the formation, but
Yeah, maybe he
yeah,
comes
maybe
back a
play
little bit
him at
more and
right wing.
prevents,
Yeah,
one of those 5 crosses that led to goals, even though a couple were disallowed.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
no,
it's a
you're
little bit
perfectly right. Play
strange.
him at play, especially when you've got Pulisic and Leao, who I shouldn't say can play for three players, but you know you've got that offensive, those two offensive weapons. You don't need necessarily Chukwueze
Yeah, of course. I
to
mean,
do all the offensive work.
yeah,
And like you
you
said, that means
finish like
balance.
this when
You're
you
right.
go, you go down 1-0 or 2-1, and you say, okay, you know what, we'll put in Chuk. I know that this will unbalance the team a little bit, but we need to score 1 or 2 goals. Let's do it. Um, yeah, it's strange. You're right. He seems to be very Fonseca. This is very eager to punish players and to bench them, but not so much to reward them. And again, let us hope, for the love of God, that Fofana and Reiner stay healthy, because otherwise we're absolutely in the
Yeah,
mud.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
And if you hire mediocrity, you get mediocrity, and that's what we're seeing with Fonseca, I believe.
yeah, and it's even funnier when you see, Napoli, top of the league, and that Conte would have been happy to come to us, and we chose not to. And hey, I was split. I split because I don't like Conte as a person and as a football fan,
Yeah,
and maybe also the just offensively the football that he offers. But you look
yeah,
at
and
Napoli and
we
you
are
see that you literally see how it became a Conte team and how he got his players in and how they're just
identity. Now, what is our
exactly.
team's What is our team's identity? Our identity is hoping Pulisic and Leao pull out an incredible performance. I feel like that's almost what it is, and
Yeah.
Rangers, to be fair.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's literally it. And what we're missing is someone that puts you in shape, that gets you fighting for a common goal. And the players we have in this current Serie A climate to be fighting for this grade, to maybe not winning but fighting it. I'm convinced of this. I will die on this hill. There's no way you can convince me otherwise. Players we have to go through in the Champions League, and maybe have a good night against anyone. Um, but the way we play and yeah, you're completely right. The lack of identity and the lack of effort means that we're likely to be thrown around by anyone, including Cagliari. Um, how do you think? Obviously,
including
now a few
Cagliari.
players go away somehow. Morata, who got kneed, of course, by Pavlovic and spent 5 hours in the hospital, is getting called up by Spain. But obviously, we have a bunch of players going away, which is also pretty awful for us. In terms of, it feels like we need more cohesion, not less. How do we think we line up for the Juve
Yeah.
game? What do you expect? Maybe a Real Madrid copy and paste lineup?
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, hopefully a copy paste lineup of that. I don't think Chukwueze did well enough to deserve to start again in right wing. We're hoping for Gabbia to be back, right?
Yes, we'll see. Obviously, if
I
he's
think
if
so,
he's
right?
back,
Yeah,
yeah, he's
we'll
not
see.
going
We'll
to Italy.
see.
So if he's back, yeah, it would also be his first game back. So I'm curious to see if it'll be Chow or him. Yeah. Beyond that, yeah, I mean, hopefully
Yeah,
Morata's
hopefully
fine.
Tomori comes back in. Hopefully comes back in, and if Fonseca decides to bench Liao, then I don't know.
Yeah,
That'll be it for me. I shouldn't say I'll refuse to watch, but that
yeah.
would be so depressing.
I think that
Um,
will be it.
other than that, it'll be Theo left back, unless he gets a Liao treatment. But again, like you said, we have nobody else. Well, we have Terracciano, but God forbid we play him against
Yeah, not
Juventus.
the time to turn into the
So
wolf.
similar to this, I would say.
Yeah,
Minus hopefully Gabia Tomori, Gabia Tomori and Musa come in, and Murata is raring to go
yeah.
up
I
front.
think that will have to be it. I think it seems silly to predict now, so maybe we'll do it closer to the actual game. Um, as we wrap up, I wanted to pick your mind on a few things. Do you think will finish in the top four.
No, I mean if you just look at the point difference now, the Fiorentina and Lazio, I think, are perhaps rare cases. Perhaps they'll have a dip in form, but if that's the issue that Napoli have when other teams that aren't your typical top four teams are performing like they do, then top four will look very very difficult. Napoli and Inter and Juve are all raring or firing on all cylinders. Inter perhaps less so, but I mean compared to last season, of course, this season they're still doing very well. Juventus, they pick out they very rarely lose and they're doing this without Vlahovic being on top form. So imagine if they find uh, Vlahovic to be raring, sort of firing on all cylinders. Uh, Gasperini's Atalanta is just getting better and better and better. Almost, we gifted them Charles de Ketelaere. So yeah, no, very bleak forecast for the top four. I generally don't think we'll make it unless something
Yeah,
radically changes, like a coaching change, or we sign somebody in the winter transfer window.
yeah. I mean, generally, if a midfielder doesn't come, I'd be shocked. I mean, I know we hate to spend money, but I'd be shocked. Yeah, I mean, first of all, just as a side note, what an absolute beauty of a, from a outsider perspective, of a league campaign for Serie A this season. I mean,
Yeah,
just
shame
great.
shame it's not us in there.
Some great games, some great fights. The good part of that, of course, is that we're not that far. We should be, I feel like, with the results and the amount of points that we dropped, way further. Not that we're in a great position. We're obviously seventh, 6 points behind Juve with a game in hand, of course. But then they're all there. Juve 6 in 20 at 24 points, and Napoli's first at 26. So everyone's there. That's good news. No one is going too far. The bad news is that, of course, there's a lot of strong contenders. Look, Napoli, probably the favorite. Even if they don't win it, they're not dropping out of top four. Antonio Conte, without European football, they're gone. Uh,
Yeah.
Inter, they're worse than last year. It feels like last year, every time they went up, you were like, yeah, okay, time to turn off the TV. They're not losing this game. This year they got caught back a few times, but again, it's the same group. Maybe they've gotten a little bit worse. They're winning it, and they're definitely not dropping out of top four. Juve, of course, looked mighty. Big blow with the Bremer injury,
Yeah, that's true.
and they started conceding a lot. But I don't know. It's also a new coach. Like, I don't think they're getting worse this year. I think they're gonna continue like this and only get better. Um, I don't see them getting out of the top four and definitely not get beaten by us. And then there was a few teams that obviously surprised you. You thought Lazio, at least I thought Lazio could struggle, kind of like Roma would, without obviously the massive suicide that Roma inflicted on themselves. But instead, Barone has them playing maybe the best football of Serie A. I think if you take the calendar year, January to January, Barone will be getting saving Hellas Verona, and what he's done with Lazio at the beginning of this football season. Maybe the best coach in Italy. I don't know. Super impressed. I did not think
Yeah.
Lazio was going to be this good. They let go of a lot of new players. They play fun football. They play with four strikers at some point.
And Nuno
Excellent.
Tavares, Nuno Tavares of all players is topping the assist league
Oh my God, yeah. And obviously,
with like 8 or 9.
yeah, and totally unlocked. Totally let him go forward. Again, that balance that we're talking about. This is a team that doesn't concede. Uh, you know, uh, as much as we do. It feels like, in terms of also when you watch them. I don't know the exact goals. Maybe the goals are similar,
Yeah,
but
cheap goals, cheap
exactly the
goals.
cheap goals and
Going in, yeah,
XG, but allows them to play with sometimes three or four strikers and Nuno Tavares. It's all about the balance. I don't think they're going away again. Look, could they drop out of top four? Sure, but they're gonna be right in there for the hunting. Atalanta, look, the Atalanta of Gasperini is always able to beat anyone. They're usually more inconsistent. We'll see. Obviously, it's a long season. Usually, though, it's the first part of the season that they struggle with, and then the second part they shine. So I don't think they're going anywhere. And now we're really running out of spots. And if you throw Fiorentina in there, beginning of the season, Palladino, we were thinking, maybe he's out. But now everyone is shining. He's done so well as well. I'm so impressed by him. I thought he
Yeah,
was gonna struggle. They have De Gea, which is an incredible pickup. Honestly, if it's not him, Mike or Villar, one of those three is the best goalkeeper in Serie A. Moise Kean is starting to find his groove, and he could have scored a couple against us, but didn't. Hit a bar, and I still remember that was an incredible shot. I don't think they'll make it to top four. If we don't, and other teams do, I definitely hope that they do. But they're in the fight as well, and we're lucky that Roma is the only team in Serie A that makes us look good, that makes our management looks competent.
yeah, true.
So we're blessed with that. Yeah, I mean, it's looking tough.
Yeah,
It's looking really
yeah,
tough.
it is.
And we'll see. We're gonna need to start hopefully with at least a draw against Juve. We definitely can't really afford to lose points, and then gonna start need to pick up big points against small teams, which we seem unable to do. Yeah, tough outlook. I think maybe me and you will try to do another podcast, international football, see if anything happens, if any good games take place, or maybe incorporate that with a little all-time AC Milan draft, which I know me and you have been talking about for a while. And then we predict the Juve game there, because I think it's too early now. We don't even know who's
Yes, I
playing,
think
who's
it's too
healthy.
early. Yeah, yeah,
But I've been trying not to think about the game because I got too upset. But after this nice 43-minute rant, I think I've come to peace with it. So thank you for talking me through this.
it's our weekly or almost bi-weekly therapy session.
Yeah, the fact that a
The
handful
the
of
high
people watch is just on top. Otherwise, it's just me
the
and you.
the half yeah, the half sort of the ups and downs that we go through from a Real Madrid win at the
I
Bernabeu,
can't
clock
believe
that
it,
up almost
honestly.
nothing, to then a 3-3 to Cagliari. Yeah, it seriously affected my mood, and
Yeah,
that's the beauty of football.
yeah. That's the full AC Milan experience, I would say for sure. Okay,
Yeah,
well, Ozzy, thank you very much. I think it's time for us to get
thank
some
you,
food.
Stefano.
I'll see you back here, I don't know, in a few days. Forza Milan.
See you, Stefano. Forza Milan.